monitored. Your advance pay account balance is $19.87. For customer assistance, billing inquiries, or to block future calls, dial 1-877-650-4249. To hear the cost of this call, press 8 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. Decline. This call is subject to monitoring and recording. Do not use three-way or call waiting features during this call. Thank you for using Global Link.
Hey, brother, I got three things quick. You got a minute?
Yes, sir.
Okay, first of all, what's the latest on Steve Anderson? I understand they gave him a hard time.
Very good question. Let me ask my wife real quick. Hey, baby. You know the latest? Oh, can you tell Mr. Hovind about Steve Anderson, the latest?
Well, I haven't seen anything recently from him on that, but he has a blog and he's keeping people posted with what's going on. I can check while we're on the line.
Okay, did they take his kids away or just confront him?
No. He was quite strong with them at the door and said no. But they stood, I don't know if you heard the whole story, but they stood there. They had, I think, 2 police officers and 2 social, whatever they are, at his door. They were...
I can barely hear you.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, much better.
Okay, sorry. They had 2 police officers and 2 CPS workers outside his door for a couple of hours, I think, and then they didn't even knock on the door until midnight when he was in bed.
Well, that ought to be public knowledge. I mean, blasted out all over the internet. Why? Give me a call at noon. Be like a normal person.
Yeah.
Coming under cover of darkness because you got something to hide. Get the names of those officers and workers and say, look, please, if you know these folks, please let them know, come during the day. That's what I kept telling the IRS. Look, send me a letter. You don't need to arrest me. I have never not responded. I will always respond. I promise. I'm not running anywhere. Why do you come with a SWAT team? What am I dangerous about? Gee whiz.
Didn't they come for Jesus in the middle of the night?
Yep, same way. See, that just needs to be... they're all cut from the same cloth, and they're all working for the same devil. That I know, and that's obvious, but just all we can do is make it well known.
Amen.
They want the public to think that they are the good guys. Well, we're here to protect you. Okay, well, if you're the good guys, then do things in a good way.
Amen.
Do you want to start with Leslie's question?
No, he's got some other things to talk to us about, babe, before we get into the questions.
Well, that was first. So they did not take Steve's kids away.
No.
Everything's fine now, as far as you know?
As far as I know, I haven't heard an update. I'll check while you guys are talking.
Okay, secondly, I called Matt Buhr about 10 minutes ago, talked to him twice, and then was going to call back to finish, and he never answered. I think maybe he had the wrong button pushed, and I don't know. It wouldn't accept the call, but it didn't click off saying he didn't accept the call. So tell him whatever he's doing, figure out a different way to do it, and let me know when he wants me to call back. This is something I have to have a PhD tape recorder. Push here, dummy. One button.
Gotcha.
I gotta have. So whatever he did, he didn't do it right. You got his contact info, right?
Yeah, I might be able to send him a text message as we're talking. Do you have the phone, baby?
A text message? Sure, I'll send him a text message.
Yeah, ask him if he wants Kent to call back while we're talking.
Okay,
yeah, that's,
who should I send it to?
Matt Buhr, B-U-H-R.
Okay, what am I asking him?
Asking, do you need Kent to call back?
Do you?
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Hovind. You said you had 3 things?
Yeah, because I tried. I talked to the third, let's see. There's actually 5 things. I mentioned there's three courts we can go to over their head. There's actually 5 things we can do. One is the court of public opinion. Many times in the Bible, and maybe you can do a Google search if you have or I don't even have a concordance here, but how many times did politicians do something or not do something because they feared the people?
Amen.
Do a search on feared the people. It's many times. Pilate would have let Jesus go, but he feared the people.
Amen.
The Pharisees would have arrested Jesus earlier, but they feared the people. I'm going to guess there's 20 or 30 times in the Bible, Old and New Testament, where politicians or religious leaders did or did not do something. They modified their behavior because they feared the people. I think that's great. You ought to list them all someplace. Secondly, we can go over their head. Their boss, the U.S. Justice Department. Everybody needs to be calling them, even though it probably won't do any good. Contact Eric Holder and say, your people are spending a lot of tax dollars down here. Would you please rein them in? Why would they call in 25 witnesses? Are they going to pay Google for their executive to come in and say, yes, that's an email from our Google? I mean, they're doing all these 25 witnesses just for simply the snow job effect.
Amen.
Probably work on the jury, no question. But do the people realize this is a tactic they use? And that they don't care what it costs the other people. They don't care what it costs Google. What if you had to take a day off work, or 3 days off work, to fly all the way from Dallas to Pensacola to testify for 20 seconds, and then fly all the way back? Would they pay for all that? If they do pay for it, where's this money coming from? If they don't pay for it, why do they have the authority to force you to do something like that? What are we doing? Hello? Somebody needs to wake up. But I guarantee they plan on calling 25 witnesses just simply because they know they don't have a case. And here's the victim who was hurt. So go to their boss, Justice Department, which, like I said, probably will not do any good, but they ought to be called anyway, just so people know, hey, we're watching.
Yeah.
Is this how you guys spend our money? So next time the Justice Department goes before Congress and says, we need a raise, we need more money. Oh, really? Well, no. How about let's cut your budget 30% or 60% or 90%?
Amen.
That's what Congress is. Congress controls their budget. Okay. Well, let everybody know they spend it on dumb stuff and dumb cases like mine. Let the world know.
This call is from the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office.
Matt Buhr replied.
So, what's that?
I was just saying Matt Buhr replied. He said, tell him to call next week in the middle. Middle of next week.
Middle of next week. Wednesday, okay. Got it, I'll do it. Running the wrong line here. I need my secretary here. Thank you. Okay, so we can go over their head, the local court here, with the public opinion. We can go over it with their boss, the Justice Department. Thirdly, we can go over it with Congress. Congress needs to hold an investigation on this. That's where the trial ought to be held, in front of Congress. Is this what you guys intended with this structuring law? No, that's not what we intended. We're trying to catch drug dealers. Okay, well, Kent Hovind's not a drug dealer. Why don't you modify that law, make it real clear? Or why don't you remove that stupid law? Hello, you guys caused this problem. Get rid of that. Congress ought to hold this trial. We can go above their head with the world court, and then we can go above their head with heaven. Just go all the way to God. God, look, do something. Now, he's a specialist at doing things that nobody would think of. Who would even think of opening up the Red Sea, 900-foot deep water, to let people walk across? I mean, nobody even thinks of those things.
Except God, right? Amen.
Or taking a sack lunch and feeding 5,000 people. I mean, you don't even consider that, and yet God does it. And I want him to do something amazing where everybody look at this case and say, wow.
Yeah.
I want him to. Anyway, so that's all I had, I think.
Well, let me just quick.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, sir. No, I did find on page 12, that was very good information that you gave me. On page 12 of your sentencing transcript, I found where Judge Margaret Casey Rodgers says specifically, and I quote, Mr. Hovind was an organizer or leader of an extensive criminal operation. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard of in my life. And Ernie and I were talking about this, and it's just amazing if she doesn't recuse herself, if she ends up being the judge on your new trial. Is there any other ways that you could, because I think it's up to you, but do you think you've tried in sufficient amount of ways possible to ensure that you don't get hurt? We're concerned that, the public defender may be thinking we might get a worse judge, but I sir cannot imagine a worse judge than this Judge Margaret Casey Rodgers.
Well, I don't know. My public defender has said no. We've already asked. I've already put in a motion. Please recuse yourself on anything relating to me. And she said, no, I'm fine. I'm non-biased. So,
okay.
It's extremely difficult to do it. And the public defender says it's a waste of time. A, she won't do it. And B, it'd be a waste of effort. So it would make it look bad and probably make it even worse on you for even asking.
I see. I don't know how it could be worse, though. She's so anti-Christian. You could tell by her speech and the comments that she's made and her prior rulings with contempt charges against school and prayer. Prayer over food for a blessing. this woman, she sees you in such a negative light because of her anti-Christian bias. It's just overwhelming, as somebody from the outside looking in. But I guess we'll just have to go with whatever's in the deck.
Okay, all I have is rumors, so you may want to try to see if you can do some investigation. But I heard that George Bush, one of the Bush presidents, said, hey, there's a nest of tax protesters in Pensacola. I want you to clean them out. And so they arrested Fred Settles, who is still in prison in Louisiana. Fred, S-E-T-T-L-E-S. You can write to him, ask him. And they arrested Ward Dean. He's a doctor, W-A-R-D, and then D-E-A-N. He served his time in Pensacola and is out now and back doing health food kind of stuff in Pensacola. So talk to Ward Dean. But Ward Dean went to prison first, and then me, and then Fred Settles. And I'm not sure who else. All related to taxes. There was also a Joe Patty Seafood. You can find Joe Patty's daughter. Joe Patty, I think, killed himself over the issue.
Wow.
Drove his car into a parked train or something like that. I don't remember what all happened, but over the IRS. So contact Ward Dean and get his story. Post it online.
Now, how do you spell that, sir? I want to make sure I spell it properly.
Ward, W-A-R-D, and then Dean, D-E-A-N.
Gotcha. Okay.
Lost his house, lost his business, lost his marriage. Fred Settles had a huge jewelry store there right outside the military base. I mean, millions of dollars, and he lost it all. They took it all. I think, probably sold it and pocketed the money someplace in their budget, whatever they do. So, but Fred Settles, he's in the prison camp in Louisiana. I don't know the name of it. Oakdale, I think. You can do a inmatelocator.com and locate Fred Settles, S-E-T-T-L-E-S. He goes by the nickname of Sport. He stutters pretty bad. He may not want to call you, but you could write him or ask him to call. Get his story. What happened?
Very good. I will check into that.
Like me, he tried everything to write to them, to reason with them. Guys, what do you want? Here's my papers. What do you want? And they never answer. They just come arrest you SWAT team style.
Crazy. It's absolutely insane. Well, we have some Bible questions. I can stop and start the recording, and I've got about 4 or 5 Bible questions, and we can either do that now or tonight. It's entirely up to you, sir.
No, now would be fine, but I think really the whole picture from Pensacola needs to come out, because it's these same U.S. attorneys that are doing all this, and there's only 3 judges, I believe, in the federal court in Pensacola, so they're all doing this to this so-called tax protester nest. Now, I don't know that Fred and Ward Dean, I've only met him once or twice. I saw Ward a couple times in Pensacola. I was only there for a few months, but he was in the camp, and we talked a couple times. He was a medical doctor, Ward Dean, M.D., They probably took that away from him too. But he lost his house, I believe, lost his marriage, lost everything over this. And he was just a great guy. He was a he's a West Point graduate.
Wow.
Military officer. Great guy. Very smart guy. And tried and tried. What can I do to you guys? What do you want? And they just, typical Gestapo.
Wow.
A lot of people don't realize Hitler started with the brown shirts. It was his barroom buddies. It was a bunch of buddies who were alcoholics or drunks from the bar. You give them authority and a gun and a brown shirt, and they were thugs, absolute thugs. They were not highly educated. They were not intelligent. They just had a gun and, power, and it went to their head. You can't reason with people like that. And so you might want to ask Ward Dean about how our current situation relates to the brown shirts and Hitler's, what ultimately became his SS.
Right.
Stormtroopers,
Are you aware that our current so-called usurper president made a statement when he was running that he wants...
From the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office.
I hate to even say his name, but he said that he wanted a national civilian defense force just as big, just as powerful, just as well-funded as the military. Are you aware that he said that?
No, but I believe it.
Yeah.
That's easy to believe.
Yeah, he absolutely said that. And when I told my in-laws that the so-called president actually said that, there's video of him saying that, they said, oh, they can make anybody say anything on video.
60 seconds remaining.
No, he really did say that. It's crazy. But anyway, if you want to call back, we'll go into some Bible questions if you want to, sir.
Sure. Give me the first one in this last minute.
Okay. From Julie, who has she has a Catholic background, and she says the church teaches that the Trinity is a mystery, and that's the extent of her education on the Trinity. What is the difference between the soul and the spirit? What happened to Jesus' soul and spirit when he died? So you can be thinking about that as you call back.
Okay, I will do that right now here.
Okay.